Finally, we'll see. It takes about 20 seconds for it to come on my end of it. As you can see, I guess you get bit by an ant in the throat, it deepens your voice.
Okay, I was about to ask that question.
Actually, it's not bothering me. It's just that I don't know if it sounds different to you, but my voice sounds different. Sound a little gravelly.
Yeah.
5, 4. There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on Newswire, on Facebook, Twitch. And Jesse just waits every day, every Monday through Friday for me to say this, his favorite, YouTube, as we're going up and on that. I'm waiting for, since he said we're going to get kicked off of there, a couple months ago. We haven't made it yet, but no, we'll try. We'll eventually do that. We'll have more to say on the social media giants. They've been making some news on that. We'll cover that in a little bit. A horrific scene that happened up in San Francisco. But again, I keep saying there's one theme that keeps coming up on this stuff, and I just can't put my thumb on why I keep seeing the same picture. Something's just the same about all these cases, but it's just kind of interesting how it goes. But I mean, maybe you'll be able to pick up on who or what it is there and clue me in on that. Lots of stuff, but Cliff Cummings will be on later on in the show. We haven't had him on that, and yeah, my voice is still gravelly from the ant bite in the throat, but it's not giving me any pain or anything. But it just sounds a little scratchy, gravelly on the deal. But hey, maybe by when we come back Monday, I'll be back to my normal self on the sound system. Or maybe you like this better. Maybe I should just keep the ant bite thing going if you like this voice. I don't know if I could take that pain for about an hour, but I guess you got to do what you got to do. The show must go on. Oh, good old, Joe Biden he comes on a Friday press conference because this is the dirty little secret in the media. Newspaper, TV show, social media, radio broadcast. You want to try and sneak something through, put it out on Friday. Friday night, Saturdays are your least paid attention to on media, especially in the news business. Most people are Friday, they're trying to get out, or Saturday, they're starting their weekend, they're doing things, da-da-da-da-da. If press releases will usually come out very late Friday, and if they want to stick something that they don't want people to read in the paper or that, they'll do it on Saturday morning. So Joe Biden comes out to out an appearance today, a press conference, and flip up good old number 4, please. He gets asked a question on, he keeps getting the mask question because he's wearing them. They're outside. He says wearing a mask inside are still a good policy, even when vaccinated. Now we've had the Massachusetts Institute of Technology said in their report very recently, and I want you to think back, who's probably, if not, probably in the United States, maybe in the whole world, probably, if not the finest, in the top 3 technical, scientific, engineering institutes in the entire world, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They said it doesn't make his social distancing is crap inside, whether it's 6 feet, 60 feet, And as we had Dr. Kelly Victory tell you, down to 0 feet, in her opinion. So he's ducking the question of that. The question is, well, why do you wear a mask outside? Well, he goes on to, he tries obfuscating it back and forth on this stuff. But when you look at it, he's lying through his teeth when he says that, because he knows 100% that it's BS. And there's a whole industry behind this. Now, this is in the Wall Street Journal opinion piece. Number 4, please. How to answer the trap question. Business purpose to increase profits. Change that find profitable solutions. This is Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, who speaks at a tech summit in Bangor, February 25th, 2020. He goes on, being a CEO is hard. You have to do all this stuff. But he said, these are Seattle soak folks. So Mr. Rekis had to ask the unanswerable trap question. Let's talk a little bit more about equity before the pandemic. The world is facing the big challenges: climate change, structural racism, economic insecurity, wealthy inequality, and oh boy, here we go. What's the responsibility of corporations, he asked. Dr. Nadella isn't a CEO trillionaire company for nothing. Coolly and calmly explained the social purpose of the company is to find profitable solutions to the challenges of people on the planet, crediting Oxford economist Colin Mayer for the definition. Driving broad economic growth is perhaps the biggest thing the company can do, Mr. Nadella Abner. In order to the pie distributed evenly, the pie should grow first. Left unsaid, it is the pie should never stop growing. What have I told you? The corporations don't care about you. In fact, the people that run the corporations, like the politicians, 98.7% of the time, don't give a rip about you. Corporations only exist for one purpose, and that's to make money, because that's how they survive. And the only color they know is green, because that's how they survive, by getting the green out of your pocket and into theirs. By taking your wealth, your work, your force, and taking that from you and putting it there. They may offer you some sort of project or manipulate you, like we've said before. They've done this for decades. They're just perfecting it and making it quicker and faster with the social media, 3x5 screen, and all this other stuff. That's how they just are a lot more efficient at it. They've been doing it for decades. But you see how and even that, when he's answering the question, saying, yeah, companies don't give a crap about you. They're not social. They're not social empires. They're not climate change or whatever. But if they can use climate change to extract a penny or a dollar out of your pocket, they're going to do it. They don't give a crap. Let's get down to brass tacks. It's like I talk about unions. Unions are just like a gun. You take a 45 ACP. I can lay it down on this desk. You can come back 100 years later. As long as nobody touches it or something, it's still going to be there. Could be loaded. Could have a 80 capacity magazine in it. It ain't going to kill nobody. Ain't going to do nothing as long as it's sitting on that desk. It takes a human being to take that gun and do so. You can use the gun like a 9/16 wrench for good or evil. Just like a union. A union can be a great thing. It can represent the workers. If it did in the altruistic deal of how you go, you can, the workers can be, it can be a benefit. And there is a benefit to having well-run unions that are working actually for their membership. For better wages, better working conditions, nobody's going to slide anybody for that. And in fact, when we have 25% of our labor force in the United States was private sector unions, we had a much better opportunity, let's say, for the average person to make a living at that. Didn't have to kill themselves, working 80 hours a week, both people, two incomes in to make ends meet, and on and on and on. But this is why we get to, this is the whole thing that we're going through. I mean, I don't care if it's Gavin Newsom, Gulag Gavin, Gascon, the goofball DA, and we'll get to the San Francisco one, Chelsea Bobin, or whatever the hell his name is, the latest controversy going on in San Francisco. But this is what you get. And it permeates through the corporate world or the to the to the politics and everything else. And it's like this. This is how it all works. Here's and this is posted by South China Morning Post. They're asking the 4 CEOs, this is the aforementioned guy from Microsoft, Tim Cook from Apple, Zuck from Facebook, and Bezos from Amazon. Does China steal U.S. technology? You may be surprised who actually answers the question truthfully and very succinctly. But here's about 2 minutes. Let's roll this. As they go for that, here we go.
I now recognize the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for all four, yes or no answer. Do you believe that the Chinese government steals technology from U.S. companies? Start with Mr. Cook.
I don't know of specific cases where we have been stolen from by the government.
So you don't believe that the Chinese government's stealing technology from U.S. companies, or you're just saying that not from yours?
I'm saying I know of no case on ours where it occurred, which is I can only speak to firsthand knowledge.
That's a lie. You can speak to anything he wants, but here's the next one coming up.
Mr. Pichai, you believe that the Chinese government steals technology from United States companies?
Congressman, I have no first-hand knowledge of any information stolen from Google.
See how that sounds very familiar to Tim Cook? And he's the guy that says, yeah, we can manipulate this stuff.
Mr. Zuckerberg?
Congressman, I think it's well documented that the Chinese government steals technology from American companies.
Thank you.
At least Zuck, I got to give him the credit. He said, yes, they do. I think. I mean, those. Now here comes Mr. Bezos, head of Amazon, and we'll see if where the evidence goes on this.
Mr. Bezos?
I have heard many reports of that, and I haven't seen it personally, but I've heard many reports of it.
So of all the different products that Amazon carries, you haven't seen that in any of the companies that sell products on Amazon or your company yourself?
Oh, well, certainly there are knockoff products, if that's what you mean, and there are counterfeit products and all of that. But the Chinese, if the answer is the Chinese government stealing technology, that's the thing I've read reports of, but don't have personal experience with.
So there you go. Bezos, head of Amazon, saying, well, I don't have personal experience of this going on. I'm aware, but yeah, there's been rumors about Chinese knockoff stuff's going on. Yeah, guy named Donald J. Trump made that right at the first and foremost of when he became president, said China's been ripping us off for decades and it's going to stop. They're not going to steal our intellectual property. They're not going to bankrupt small businesses in United States, steal their stuff, go back to China, copy it, and sell it on 10 cents on the dollar. Now, there's a lawsuit filed, give me number 4, please, by William Simone. A lawsuit accuses Amazon of offering and infringing products for sale online. This is a case that's been filed in that. I want to get to to this part of it here, of that. They're alleging that, Amazon took their products, had them copied, most likely, we'll check it out, maybe in China, who knows, of this. But this is what it says. Of particular note is Amazon's alleged copying of West Elm's orb chair, the design which is covered by U.S. patent number D815452, titled Titled chair. The Orb chair has been a commercial success for Williams & Sonoma, exceeding 2 million sales during the first 10 months of 2018. In March of 2018, Amazon began selling an Orb chair that is so highly similar that the ordinary observer would be confused by the imitation thanks to identical design and use of exact same and non-destructive wordmark. Williams-Sonoma further pushed its trademark infringement claims against Rivet Industrial Slope top grain leather swivel office chair, which is very similar to Elm slope leather swivel office chair. But Bezos knows nothing. So the Chinese are stealing it? Well, it wasn't specifically asked. I mean, this is probably how I weasel out of it. What about your company doing this? And on top of that, the follow-up questions should be, where did you learn this stuff? Or what? And he's going to say, well, these are allegations and all this other stuff. It's been going on for a long time. It remains to be seen if it's proven in court. The allegations by Williams and Sonoma that they have used their intellectual property, copied their chairs, and undercut them on the Amazon website with it using by Amazon, as I understand this, on that. This is the evil we have working in society, and this is what the danger is, not only of the big tech Google, Facebook, Twitter, controlling our social media. This is a problem when you have the Amazons and the Walmarts and a very few places that are doing the bulk of the supply. You're going to wind up with this, because how can a Williams-Sonoma go up against Amazon? How do you sell your products? And then when you do sell your projects, are they going to get stolen? That is exactly what the Chinese communists have been doing for decades. Trump turned it around, got us out of these stupid trade agreements. And if you remember, Trump said, he said the Chinese, he said, how the hell did you get the Americans to agree with this? And they looked at him and said, we were as astounded as anybody. We didn't propose it, they did. That's because you go back to that. And the Microsoft guy said, we're just concerned about making money. We don't care who we got to stomp over, sell. He didn't exactly say that. I'm just giving my hillbilly dialect of it. And we don't care who we got to stomp on, run over, abuse on the way to doing that, because the only color we know is green. That's where you're at in this society today. And that's the direction we keep heading more and more and more. Very disturbing story that's up in San Francisco. 2 Asian women, one in her 60s, one in her 90s or 80s, was stabbed out in the street. Here's some video of it, and if you're sensitive, you're going to see the video of them as it was posted on ABC 7 of them getting stabbed. There was a surveillance camera out front on that, but we're going to run through the first report here. So here we go.
Surveillance.
See if we can get it.
Stabbed at the bus stop near 4th and Market Streets in San Francisco. District Attorney Chase Boudin says the facts support the charges of attempted murder, elder abuse, and assault with a deadly weapon. The DA says his office is working with the police department to determine if there is evidence to support hate crime allegations. This isn't the first act of violence connected to the suspect. ABC 7 News reporter Matt Boone found out the man was charged with a similar crime in 2017, but did not end up going to jail.
The video obtained by ABC 7 News anchor Dion Lim through sources shows the hustle and bustle of Market Street during rush hour. The 2 victims can be seen waiting for the bus, their backs against the man who would soon attack. The next part happens quickly. Another warning, this video is disturbing. The suspect walks straight up to the women, takes out a large knife, stabbing one, then the other, calmly walking away as bystanders step in to help. Police say the suspect is 54-year-old Patrick Thompson, who was apprehended an hour later in the Tenderloin. Police Chief William Scott says officers in the area were familiar with Thompson from prior contacts.
Because the reason that we were able to arrest this individual so quickly is because the Tenderloin officers know their communities, because they're out there engaged, they know who's in the communities, and they were familiar with this individual. So when they actually got the evidence of, by way of photographs and whatnot, they knew where to go.
When asked about the prior contacts, the chief was not willing to reveal any details, erroneously claiming that information is private. But sources have confirmed to ABC7 News anchor Dion Lim that Thompson had been charged with assault with a deadly weapon in 2017. Facing 25 years behind bars, instead, Thompson received a mental health diversion, and the charge was later dismissed. The attack on Tuesday sent both victims to the hospital. Family of 85-year-old Chui Fong said she was in surgery for hours after the knife punctured her lung, but is expected to recover. Police say the other victim is also expected to survive. Investigators are still trying to determine a possible motive, understanding the attack is now one of many that has left the AAPI community feeling vulnerable.
We do, based on our investigation, believe that this attack was totally random. We have, evidence. We've interviewed the person who has been arrested.
The public defender's office, which is representing Thompson, also declined to comment.
I wonder why they declined to comment. First, you don't get a big, a real big picture of the perpetrated attack or a blown up of that. Hit button number 4, please. You can see the X-ray of the lady that her son released on that with the knife in her of that. And you heard, in 2017, he should have been serving a life sentence, but he was released. Now he's out brutally stabbing 2 Asian women on top of that out in the street. Now you look at what's going on, and you hear I want to know when criminal records were not public records. People that have convicted, we post them all the time. We get press releases of this guy's doing child molesters, robbing the bank, whatever. Why is this case, we can't say anything? I could tell you why. And I knew this from the beginning. I said, this suspect doesn't look like Roy. Because if Roy would have done something, or somebody that looks like Roy, that would have been plastered all over. That would have been broadcast 24/7, 365, until you were sick of seeing it. But we have to have police personnel, police officers, stealthily release this stuff. I wonder why. Here's the CBS KPIX report later on from San Francisco. See if this one will go. There we go.
2 older Asian women who were simply waiting for the bus. KPIX5's Betty Yu has been digging into his background. And Betty, this was not the suspect's first run-in with the law, was it?
That's right, Ken. It was not. Patrick Thompson has a lengthy arrest record here in San Francisco, according to a law enforcement source. And many of his offenses over the last 2 decades are for violent crimes. A law enforcement source provided this surveillance image to KPIX5. It was circulated among officers.
Okay, let's look at that. Why do you suppose police, district attorney, government officials were not releasing this man's photograph? Again, if Roy or somebody looked like Roy was doing it, you don't think that would have been plastered all over the place? They had these surveillance, this is from surveillance tape, and police personnel, per the report, leaked this sort of information of who the perpetrator was. As I could tell you, there's a theme that comes across all these reports that we're giving. Can you guess what they are? As you see in the report, back and forth of how we go with this, it's the same thing every day. It's called evidence, it's called statistics, and you can't deny the facts. And the facts are the facts. 50% of all violent crime in the United States are committed by black males when they're 6% of the population. That's about an 8 to 9 times rate over the average person of everyone else. It's called profiling. The cops knew this guy, as you heard in the first report and the second report. He was released from prison. Just like Newsom's getting ready to clear the jails out and release up to 76,000 people, including people with life with a possibility of parole. Now, the Anthony Avalos situation is coming up again. They were getting ready to do the court trial. Anthony Avalos was a young man of, about 4 or 5 years old, tortured, brutally killed by his mom and her boyfriend. The dad, I just heard from the dad of the attorney, or the attorneys from the dad of Anthony Avalos. George Gascon, the DA of Los Angeles, pulled the death penalty from the case. He's being recalled along with Chelsea Bobin or whatever in that. They're running that. These are the people you elected in California to do this. Gascon didn't even talk to the family, didn't talk to the dad. Now, if you take off the death penalty and he gets life without the possibility of parole, mind you, like there are cases, what they've done is they've taken, well, if you serve good behavior, you can knock down to life with the possibility of parole. Then once you get life with the possibility of parole, with parole, then you can be like Patrick Thompson. Within a couple years, they're booting you out. And then this happens. It's not a coincidence. This is like the Kate Steinle case, where the person in this country here illegally, an illegal alien, shoots and kills Kate Steinle. That's why that's why we have laws. That's why we get criminals off the streets. That's why we have a jail system. We are systematically destroying that in California now. That story is not going to end well. If there ever was a case for the death penalty, it's the killers of young Anthony Avalos who brutally tortured the poor kid until he died. Yet Gascon, with pulling the death penalty, on top of that, those killers could be out in no time. And it's happening. And it's being proposed in California all across the board. Along with recalling Newsom, even if you're not in LA County or San Francisco. Along with recalling Newsom, it is important that you get Gascon, that you get Bobin, that you get Newsom out before they do any more damage. Because you know what? It could be you, it could be your mom, it could be your kid that is in
30 seconds
stabbed by someone who should have been in jail or dead under the death penalty. And it's just that serious. That's how far we've sunk in California today.
All right, guys, here we go. 10 seconds.
AMET 1490am.com and download your free phone app today. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Bit, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band, joining our vast video audience on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. We went through some of the stuff on the absolutely stunning story of up in San Francisco where a man just stabbed black man stabbed two Asian women in their 60s and 80s, and he should have been in jail, was in jail in 2017 with life with the possibility of parole, was out on the streets of that and not releasing his name. It had to be leaked. This is intolerable in our society. They're breaking us down. Just like we brought out with the big tech and the lies and the Bidens and the mask. He went to was asked about the mask. Why aren't you wearing it outside? And we tap dance all around that every day. It's absolutely stunning. Cliff Cummings will be on here in a few minutes on that. We'll get his thoughts for the day. But another one about this whole masking in schools and opening them up. CDC Director Walensky said this about a month ago. So here we go.
I want to be very clear about schools, which is, yes, ACIP has put teachers in the 1B category, the category of essential workers. But I also want to be clear that there is increasing data to suggest that schools can safely reopen, and that safe reopening does not suggest that teachers need to be vaccinated in order to reopen safely. So while we are implementing the criteria of the advisory committee and of the state and local guidances to get vaccination across these eligible communities, I would also say that safe reopening of schools is not, that vaccination of teachers is not a prerequisite for safe reopening.
She said it twice. School reopening is not a prerequisite for opening schools. Now, that was a month ago. You had to get an appointment to get a vaccine. Now they're closing down all these places. You can walk up, almost get a vaccine. Teachers are saying, well, we're not going back to class till we get a vaccine. If you want a vaccine, you probably get one, even if you're out in the hinterlands within an hour. There is no excuse on that. The Biden administration, Psaki, was asked about that the other day, and they tap danced all around it, saying, well, that she was speaking for herself. Well, no, she did not say that I'm speaking. She's in the official area or that, and she's the head of the Center of Disease Control for the Biden administration. She was not speaking as a private individual in that setting where she said that a month ago. But what changed? Why all this? Well, we're not. 100 days, schools will be open by June. Well, maybe September and that and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Biden's been backtracking on all this. And we brought you the racist Cicely Meyer Cruz from that and teachers. And again, unions cannot do anything. Unions cannot speak. People can. And if they're representing you, they're talking for you. Let's cut to the chase. Anybody that tells you any difference is deceptively lying to you and part of the problem. Here is number 4, please. This is the New York Post. Powerful teachers union influence CDC on school reopenings email show. The American Federation of Teachers lobbied the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and even suggested language for federal agencies' school reopening guidelines released in February. The aforementioned ones that Walensky was talking about as we played the email, which said there is no safely reopening schools, and she said it twice. is not a prerequisite to having teachers vaccinated. The documents show a flurry of activity between CDC Director Rochelle Walensky, her top advisors, and union officials, with Biden's brass being looped into the White House in the days before the highly anticipated February 12th announcement on school guidelines. Thank you again for the emails, the forthcoming guidance, and your openness to suggestions. Randy Weingarten, we've report the racist of the 7 million American Federation of Teachers wrote that Kelly Trotmeyer, which described the union CDCs as a thoughtful partner. Oh, isn't that nice language? We were able to review a copy of that document, and we're able to provide some initial feedback, and Walensky wasn't in on the email, but she was forwarded by Carol Johnson of the White House, as you see here. Another one, Kelly Troutner of that. We are immensely grateful for your genuine desire to do this. The lobbying paid off. At least 2 instances, language suggestions offered by union were adopted nearly verbatim in the final text. The CDC was preparing to write that schools could provide in-person construction regardless of community spread of the virus. Tartner argued that the inclusion of the line reading in the event of high community transmission results from a new variant of SARS, a new update, these guidelines may be new guidelines may be necessary. The language appeared on page 22 of the CDC guidance. AFT also demanded special remote work concessions for teachers who have documented high-risk conditions or increased risk for COVID-19. So there you go. They had to do under the Freedom of Information Act of the New York Post and other companies, got the documents. After Walensky came out and said, there is no need for vaccinations. Teachers have been screaming from coast to coast, we're not going back to class unless we're all vaccinated. Well, there's no excuse for that because you could be vaccinated if you want one almost immediately. There is no excuse for that. On top of that, the science and data do not show that it makes any difference in that, as CDC Director Walensky said. But the unions got in there, which are representing the 7 million teachers, the AFT, and said, no way. You don't turn this around, we're coming after you. And the stuff got changed like that. That sums it up in a nutshell of what's going on. And if that doesn't get your attention, and if you parents are not rallying at every school district in the United States demanding that this stuff gets fixed, I don't know what else would be the motivation for doing that. But as we promised, we haven't had him on for a while, but it's our pleasure to have the owner of Toyota, San Bernardino, Subaru, Nissan, Nissan of San Bernardino, and I-10 Toyota in Indio. Cliff Cummings, welcome to IA Newswire with Roy.
Thank you very much. How are you today?
Absolutely fantastic. Recovering from the ant bite in my throat. That's why I might sound a little scratchy, and that was a whole fiasco. But we soldier on that. What's on your... Take it anywhere you want, Cliff.
Wow. Well, that's sort of an open book. Well, let's start with what's going on the planet. This insanity with the way the Democrats are handling the recount.
Yeah, I think we just lost Cliff of that. Oh man, we just got him on after all this time, and we did all, and there we go. I mean, I don't know why we got that, but yeah, no, it is, and as I said on that, the recount stuff that we got, and it went that we covered that the other day, and it was absolutely stunning how the whole blackout on that whole thing is going, and why we come back and forth, and we get to the point of, man, this is the danger of covering on social media, or all that, of just a few companies having control of this, because they can stomp out. They can, just as with Trump, He's gone from the president. He asked to get back on Facebook. They said no way. He's still off of Twitter. The 45th president of the United States of that. And he's gone. He can't get his voice out on Facebook, Twitter, and controlling everything else. So we look for it each day, and it just doesn't get any better. We seem to be slipping. We take one step forward and two steps back, and it looks like and we come back and we say, well, how did this happen? It's because of us. We are the ones. It's like we elected Gascon. We elected Gavin Newsom. We didn't fight hard enough. Make no excuses. I'm getting tired of that anyway. Well, it's this, that, and the other. We go each day, and we're still trying to work at getting Cliff back. I don't know what's wrong with the phone on that. Is our phone working correctly? Yeah. Just try dialing our phone to see if it rings. And but no, it's stunning. It's stunning that we see this. We see the deception going on each day. It's ringing. Oh, yeah. And but no, it's every day we come back, and it's just like it's just like today. Just when you think nothing can go wrong, or maybe it's going to change, we get the deal of San Francisco where this guy's just stabbing two Asians on that. I think we got him back. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, your line just went dead, Cliff. Right as you start to talk.
The communists or the Democrats? I haven't decided which one.
Is there any difference?
Not today.
If you remember where you're at, go ahead.
Well, just basically, you were talking about what's going on, and I think just the insanity is going on. It's so frustrating to have to sit here and have intelligent conversations with people who may or may not be on the same team, and the emotions, the inability to make full sentences. I can go on for days, but it is extraordinary. I think I'd just rather spend some time on good news right now. And basically that deals with the new Toyota store is going to be open pretty soon. We are putting a boatload of people to work.
Great.
And I kind of like that. That's kind of fun.
Yes.
And, business is good. The downside is we're having spectacular inventory problems due to some various issues with production in other countries, and it's impacted the United States. So it's a tough deal. I think that one of the things that we've got to do is just really, frankly, get past the next month or two. So for folks looking for product out there, it is not an easy task right now. Ford got crushed. GM, Toyota got wounded. Full disclosure. Toyota got wounded, but some of these other guys got absolutely killed. And it's a shame. It's really a shame because there's a whole lot of folks working out there who are really good people. So that having been said, what we're in the process of doing is sorting it all out. It's going to take a little bit of time. But again, we're real good at this stuff. So I think that I would love to see us carry on with where we're going. The economy's going relatively well. The California economy is reported to be going very well, but the thing that really ticks me off, Roy, is they never talk about the pension debt.
Oh, yeah.
And when you don't talk about the pension debt, you're lying. And when you're hitting close to $2 trillion, California taxpayers need to know that is a locomotive coming down the track straight at them. So all the garbage that you hear from Newsom and his ilk, while it may have a structural surplus, or they may have a surplus for the year, maybe, they have got a deficit that can never be paid for in the pension plans for state employees, particularly prison guards, cops, fire, teachers. So be aware, it's coming, and they're going to have to cover it, which means they're going to go after more taxes.
Just
What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, I was going to have you explain that because and I've done it before, but you could probably do it much better than I can. You can have a balanced budget. You can look good in any one good year, but you can have a structural deficit, and this is what I think you're talking about. Pension obligations, bond debt, climate change, all this other stuff. Their obligations are called unfunded mandates, future obligations. You have to pay, and if you don't have enough money to cover that, whether you're in business or government, one day they're going to come in and put the locks on your place, and somebody else is going to be running it.
Yeah, I find it remarkable that actually they get to get away with a lot of this, and it's distressing because there should be just like your show. If you are lying to a whole lot of people are going to figure it out pretty quick.
Yes,
and so you need truth in lending. We've got to do that. We've got truth in advertising, truth in all the loan documents we do now. But for some reason, and I don't know why, well, I do know why, the politicians do not have to tell us the truth about what a beating California is likely to take coming up. And I feel bad because there are a lot of people moving out. A lot of smart people who make a lot of money are moving out. And that's just going to stuff it to the people who hung out. And is that bad? Yeah, it's probably pretty bad. But I think also people need to understand exactly what they're dealing with. And what they're dealing with is a bunch of guys who are, I think what's the word they use all the time? They use that word, disingenuous. You know what that means? It means they're lying to you.
Now you're starting to talk on my level on this, but no, and you look at this stuff, but California, this is the first year ever that we've actually lost population, all that. We talk about 29 of the last 30 years we've had net migration out of the other 49 states, but the rising birth rate and illegal or legal immigration has taken up with this. But we've lost total population in the last year. On top of that, you talked about the mass exodus moving out, and mainly a lot of productive people that were here are not here anymore. They're the ones that would or should be or would, if there's a possibility of digging out of these pension debts and anything else, that would do it. And if they're not there, that just even makes the crisis or the pending whatever's coming look that much more ominous, Cliff.
Well, true, and I think that's where you have to look at it. Now, they'll report that X number of people came in, so they're not really worried about it. Well, how many are legal, how many are not? But what I look at is one specific issue. I look at the revenue stream, which means taxes, of people who are leaving compared to the people who are either coming in or staying or slowly leaving. Because, frankly, there's a lot of people who are making decent money who are where the folks have made X number of dollars. Well, that's great. Love it. Terrific. However, I think one of the things that we all have to be aware of is when one guy who makes, let's just go with a guy like Elon Musk, when he goes to Dodge to avoid the onerous California taxes, and he goes to Texas, he takes with him a revenue stream of several $billion. You can just figure out the math. That's a hell of a lot of money that this state's not going to get in state income tax. Now do that 10 or 15 times, and you've got to import a number of people that the state can't sustain just to keep that same revenue. So it's a shame, but once again, our friends in Sacramento do not want to admit the fact that is going on, and it is it's distressing to say the least. It's also, I think, incredibly unfair to the tax-paying population because they're getting lied to. And if that's where we want to go, if that's what they've been getting lied to for a long time, why the hell? Why not cut it out? Why not keep going? But it's slowly but surely coming to the head. And, had Trump been around, and yet, you know what? He might still be back because I think he will run again. I think he's going to make it a point to make sure that people have to tell the truth at the and if they don't tell you, he'll tell you. State and local government to let folks know what situation their state is in, what the revenue stream is, how are they going to get hurt if things go south? Big earthquake. That'd be one example. So again, it's a tough call. It's got to be done, and people need to know where they stand. And I am really sad to say that a hell of a lot of people have no idea where this state stands. And you know what? I would be surprised if some of the opposition doesn't know either, because they sure seem to have their heads in the sand a lot. But okay, so we'll move on with life and do the best we can. But we have major work to be done if we're going to pull this state out of the financial hole that the left doesn't want to admit exists.
And we have that shot to do it, and it will probably be coming up in November. That's the recall of Gulag at Gavin Newsom. We better not blow this one, Cliff, because...
Well, I'm afraid that, that betting window's open, pal. It's an extremely difficult process. Right now, I don't see a candidate that the Republicans will coalesce around. I do see the Democrats, and frankly, they're better at this than we are persuading people not to run in the recall election. That gives him a leg up. If a bunch of Republicans run, you can forget it. It's over. I really do think Newsom would win it, and much as I hate to say it, but sadly, that's what will happen.
I was given some solace, though, in the McLaughlin Associates poll that came out. 53% of Hispanics that speak Spanish in the House are in favor of recalling Newsom, and I think it's 49-39 independents are on the ball game of recalling Newsom. So there is a few ray of hope out, a ray of hope out there. If we, and like I say, we better not blow it this time.
There's a ray of hope, but you have to understand the ray of hope doesn't really matter much if the Republican, they want him recalled, but then you have 4 or 5 Republican candidates to split the vote, and the guys who don't want him recalled vote for Newsom. He's back in, pal. It's over. It's not a contest. So the Republicans have to get their acts together if anything's going to happen. And I got to tell you what, if the Republican Party can't get their stuff together, then I think we need to seriously look at any leadership function that exists out there on the Republican side, because it is insane, absolutely insane to have to sit here and have this conversation. Republicans should be all over this and ready to roll, and sadly they are not. There's still hope. Don't get me wrong. You can still convince a lot of mediocre candidates not to run, and I'll use egomaniac candidates not to run. But we'll see. That's going to be the test of this entire scenario. Is the Republicans have got to have one candidate who is strong, who can take on Sacramento and have a chance of winning. Good luck. I hope it happens, and we'll see.
I've said that, and I mean, I don't think whatever's performance on Hannity was that great. I think it would have taken more, but I mean, I don't. In the aggregate, I don't care if it's Caitlyn Jenner, but not physically, but when you go after the king, you better take him out, and you better recall Gavin Newsom. If you leave him in there, in there, he is going to be so powerful in that, and they will probably even increase their supermajority in the assembly. And what that doesn't bode well for us, I think, is you think there's been a mass exodus in the last couple of decades out of California, especially in the business and productive community. That will accelerate it.
Yeah, it will. And let me tell you just one other thing that you might want to do. You and people listening, go rent a U-Haul to get out of the state. See what it costs you. And then find out a U-Haul going into the state and see what it costs you. It's about a quarter to move in, okay, of what it costs to move out. Because the demand is so high, people escaping, and I do use that term specifically, escaping, that the outflow is astronomical, and that is devastating. Now, we're still okay, a lot of us, but again, the frustration level is amazing because people are waking up to the fact that this guy is deadly for this state, absolutely deadly.
is we got about a minute left. I'll let you wrap it up.
Well, thanks, and I appreciate, as always, being on. I'll let you know that the new Toyota of San Bernardino is going to be opening up here shortly. We've gone through every possible problem that you can have in construction, and our guys have done a hell of a job. I'm incredibly proud of all of the builders that we've used. Everybody's local, and you know what? We're going to announce probably right here, right now, that we're going to build a 61,000 square foot Subaru building once we get done with this puppy. And what's going to happen is the costs are going to have to come down because all the material costs have gone absolutely bat crazy. And so as these costs come down, we're going to knock down the old Toyota building, build a great big Subaru store, and keep trying to work with salvage in this town and the state. You know, I haven't quit. You'll know when I quit when you're calling me long distance, buddy.
You got it there. You heard it here first. Heard it here first. After the the new Toyota marquee dealership gets open in San Bernardino here very, very, very soon, you're going to get a new Subaru dealer. All thanks to Cliff Cummings. Thanks for being on. We'll do it again real soon.
All right, always a pleasure.
You
Good
got
talking.
it. That was Cliff Cummings, Toyota San Bernardino. San Bernardino Subaru, San Bernardino of Nissan of San Bernardino, I get it right, and I-10 Toyota in Indio on that. It's always a pleasure to talk to Cliff on that. And again, yeah, we got the exclusive announcement of the new Subaru building that is going to be coming to San Bernardino on that, which is great news, and we need great news. Have a great weekend. Do something fun. Defy the mask order and the stupidity that's going on, because we can't take it anymore. What is it? Heck, I forgot the movie guy. Mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. That's it. Yes. That should be our theme for 2021. So until Monday, see ya!